So certainly we're excited about some of the underlying shifts around cloud. We're seeing really more both brands, agencies, as well as folks across the connected and broader TV ecosystem thinking really about how addressable targeting and measurement happens. And beneath that is the foundation of identity, the need to create a single and persistent view of a consumer as a household so that ultimately brands can better plan, target, activate, and measure. And I think what we're starting to see is the shift of a lot of that addressable data moving to the cloud, whether that's a Snowflake, a GCP, an AWS, or any of the other cloud providers. And what's exciting there is it's creating a new environment for both connected TV and streaming data to come together with a brand or an agency's audience data, which can facilitate better overlap, forecasting, analysis, better segmentation and targeting of audiences, and ultimately better measurement on the back end. So really seeing cloud as an enabler and a place, an environment where multiple parties can come together to create a better view of the consumer for more effective addressable TV.
How do you think media companies and agencies should rethink addressability?
So I think addressability, again, is really rooted in this deep understanding of identity. And in the TV ecosystem, there's long been the debate of which currency is dominant and how do we translate and understand across currencies. And so recognizing that we're not in a world with a perfect singular view of identity that every participant can actually agree on, I think you have this foundational translation problem, right? It's kind of a Tower of Babel. Even if a streaming service, an MVPD, a broadcaster, a programmer has Gareth Davis, the brand or the agency or another entity may have a different version of me. And oftentimes that data doesn't speak together. So I think the opportunity in all of this is to figure out ways to create better translation services so that folks can actually establish and maintain this single view of the customer. And at TransUnion, that's where we've really been invested. And behind that, it means we need to ensure that we're actually agnostic to any and all ID spaces. We need to be able to understand every version of identity and create mappings that allow a persistent view of that consumer over time and do it in a safe and ethical way.
So, which leads me to ask about innovation for TransUnion and its partners. Where do you see that headed with whether it's privacy, security, or addressability?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So I think the exciting innovation around identity that we're leaning into is really a couple-fold. First off, it's around supporting this concept of a Rosetta Stone, being able to bring customer and partner data in on any identity key, whether that's a first-party publisher or platform-specific ID, whether it's PII or digital identifiers. And then effectively maintain a complete view of that data tied to an individual or a household over time, and then be able to activate and measure on the back end. And to do that, we've had to invest significantly in enabling the translation service, the integrations, the APIs, the services that make it easy to connect and translate data. So that's been a big part of the investment, and we're really excited around what that's translating to in terms of match rates and use cases that we're unlocking for our partners. We're really helping them move beyond simple match rate concepts and instead shift to getting a complete view of the consumer. So that's a big part. The second piece I would say would be innovation in privacy and non-movement of data. So we were the first really only leading identity provider to start to put our solutions in the cloud, starting with Snowflake, now AWS and GCP. And what that means is our customers can now connect and resolve their data to TU identity, so they can do data hygiene and validation and enrichment without having to share any data with us. So no data leaves out of their cloud. We don't have to ship files to them. That whole process is significantly faster and more efficient. And it means customers have a much more privacy safe way of connecting data, whether they're a publisher, a platform, a brand, or an agency. And what that's really unlocking now is new ways to connect and collaborate between partners. And we think making that whole process easy to discover partner data, to forecast overlap, to activate and measure campaigns, or with this common view of identity is really what's going to help unlock more addressable reach in the TV ecosystem and help both the buy and the supply side of the market transact more effectively and ultimately grow value and create end consumer value.
Where do you hope to see identity in the coming year?
More transparent. For far too long, identity has been this kind of black box, opaque graph that you buy from one or more vendors, and everyone tells you their thing is the best. And you start doing the data science evaluations, and not everything always lines up. And so we're investing in, for example, providing transparency to our customers through confidence scores and other capabilities so that their own data science teams can validate our own graph and determine how confident we are versus their own confidence thresholds. And whilst that might sound technical, at the core, it's about putting our money where our mouth is and saying, here's why we believe all this information is linked to an individual or a household, and here's how confident we are of that, and here's why. Now we'll give you the tools to not only validate that yourself independently, but also to start tuning your graph. So if you want to optimize that graph to get more addressable reach, because that makes sense for your business and campaign objectives, you can do that. But if you're, for example, trying to optimize towards real precision because you have a measurement or a personalization use case, you're now empowered to do that. And I think that mixture of transparency and control is really going to create huge competitive advantage for those innovative clients and partners, particularly in the TV ecosystem, where that balance of accuracy versus scale is really important in ultimately driving the most effective business outcomes.